Hey everybody, Christian Clemente here from Auburn Undercover. Guys, if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube, please help us out and do that. Before I get into the video, we're closing in on 6,200 subscribers, making the push for 6,500, and we're getting really close. So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe, like the video. And if you're not over at Auburn Undercover, I'd recommend checking us out. This video is a little bit of a supplement to a story that I had this week of 10 recruits that Auburn is trending up with. Figured this would be a good opportunity just to talk about the story a little bit. When you're writing, you want to be concise, you want to be short and to the point a little bit. But this is a good opportunity for me to kind of go a little bit more in depth. You can get a little bit better of a feel for how I actually feel about these recruits and where Auburn is trending with them. The caveat of the story was that if a recruit that we feel like has been trending to Auburn for a while now, take Jamarian Fat Burnett out of Andalusia, for example. I didn't put them in the story just because it feels like they've been trending Auburn for a while. So I was kind of taking the past couple of months or so, give or take. And if a recruit has been trending to Auburn in that timeline, I put them in here. These were just 10 names that instantly came to mind for me. These were not, this isn't everybody that's trending towards Auburn right now. And there might be guys that are even trending further Auburn than these guys. But these were just some of the names that came to mind instantly. And the first one on the screen is Bradley Shaw, a linebacker from up at Hoover, one of the top 70 players in the class, one of the top linebackers, really pretty much a true inside linebacker. He can shift outside a little bit and drop into coverage. You're seeing this picture from the Under Armour Next camp a couple of weeks ago in Carrollton, Georgia. And he did that at the camp and actually did pretty well. He kind of surprised me in that aspect because, in the one-on-ones with the linebackers, they have them matched up with the running backs. And so they were, dropping into coverage with running backs, dealing with wheel routes, screens, whatever it may be. And Bradley Shaw was really pretty good in terms of coverage. He really impressed me. And this is a guy who I think Josh Aldridge, Ron Roberts, Hugh Freeze, that Auburn defensive staff, and head coach Hugh Freeze, I think they've really prioritized Bradley Shaw as one of their top linebackers in the class. Really, really talented guy. Alabama has offered him. Alabama actually offered him the day after he visited Auburn in January. Bradley Shaw was supposed to visit Auburn on March 1st as soon as the dead period wrapped up. Kind of some tough luck there as there were severe storms throughout the state. So he ended up not making the trip down that day. But that's not even close to a concern for me. This kid and his family really, really like Auburn. Talking to his family a little bit at the camp, they really like Auburn. Bradley really likes Auburn. He feels like a priority. If I had to pick right now, I would honestly probably pick him to land at Auburn, but I don't think he's in a rush to make a decision. He wants to make it sometime before his senior season. But as of right now, Auburn's headed in the right direction, should get an official visit. And then from there, it's kind of game on. This is the second guy is a name that I played around with, potentially having on the list. I wasn't sure for a while, and I ended up putting him on because Cam Coleman, the big 6'3", around 180-pound wide receiver out of Central Phoenix City, is a guy that's honestly been trending to Auburn, not trending to Auburn, but trending Auburn for a while now. He visited a couple of times, I want to say last fall, and even with the previous staff, he felt a pretty strong connection at Auburn. And now the new staff, Marcus Davis gets hired. Cam Coleman is his first 2024 wide receiver offer, and they've been. From talking to Cam, it seems like they've been building a pretty strong connection there. He has not visited Auburn yet this year. He was supposed to visit for junior day. He instead decided to go to Kentucky with his teammate. He said kind of, I can always go to Auburn, but I can't always go to Kentucky. And since his teammate was going there, he wanted to go up there. Look, this kid flat out dominated at the Under Armour Next camp. This is going to be an absolute battle now. Alabama and Georgia had already offered him before that camp. Since the camp, Texas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU, Florida, all these schools have offered him. Penn State is after him heavy. Florida State is after him heavy. He just visited Florida State on Friday when I'm recording this, and he's supposed to visit LSU on Saturday because his 7-on-7 team is going to be playing in a New Orleans event. So he's going to go to Baton Rouge as well. Expect Cam Coleman to visit at least once in the spring, probably more than that if I had to guess. He's still working on locking in dates. This is a kid, there's a long way to go here. He's absolutely not in a rush to make a decision at all. I think he's really trying to take it all in as his recruitment is not starting all over again, but he's getting a lot of new interest. And so it's kind of overwhelming for him in a sense, but there's a lot of good stuff that's overwhelming for Cam, but I think Auburn has prioritized him, and I think he really likes Auburn as well. Auburn has obviously struggled getting players and receivers specifically out of Central Phoenix City, so this would be a really big win for a multitude of different aspects if Hugh Freeze and Marcus Davis can land this guy. Third guy, another linebacker on the list, DAngelo DJ Barber out of Clay Chalkville. I just talked about linebacker being a big need with Bradley Shaw. DJ Barber is another guy that I think Auburn would really like to get and add to the class. Another in-state guy. Look, you've seen it through the first three guys. And spoiler alert, the next few names are Georgia. And then after that, it's more Alabama guys. I think Auburn's really, really trying to win in the state of Alabama this cycle, make up for what the past couple of cycles have really lacked in landing some elite talent in this class. The 2023 class was loaded at the top. Some 5-star guys, really talented guys, and it was deep too. But the 2024 class is extremely deep. DJ Barber is a guy who's just starting to get some stars, just starting to get some rankings, and he's really talented. He's got Alabama offer, Auburn offer. He's got a lot of big offers. He's really just starting to pick up steam. He's in like the 20s in the class rankings. There are 30 to 40 legitimate, really, really talented potential Power 5 guys in the state of Alabama for the 2024 class, and DAngelo Barber is one of them. He's one that Auburn is really heavily after, and I think he really likes Auburn so far. He visited for junior day. That's when he was offered, and I think Auburn's in a good place for him right now. Next guy is Jameson Riggs, a big offensive tackle. 24/7 Sports has him as the number 15 offensive tackle in the class, pictured here with offensive line coach Jake Thornton. He visited, fun fact, he visited on January 16th, the same day that Walker White visited Auburn. He also visited Clemson on January 28th, the same day that Walker White visited Clemson. So those two have kind of gotten to know each other a little bit just through 2 visits to 2 separate schools. Now Walker White being an Auburn commit, Jameson Riggs was one of the guys that Walker White called out after committing and said, "Hey, I want you." And we talked to Jameson at the Under Armour camp, and he said, "I've been talking to Walker. I've been talking to Auburn a lot, and I'm going to try and make it down there for a visit." Auburn only practices on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So it seems like that'll be a little bit tough with school for some of these guys. But Jameson Riggs is going to try to make it down, and he's really contemplating an official visit. He only gets 5 of those, but I expect Auburn to get one of them. And from then on, if you land an official, you're basically one of their top 5. And I think Auburn has positioned itself well atop that top 5 at the moment. Next guy, if I had to put in a prediction right now, I would 100% put in a prediction. Not 100%, but I feel really, really good about where Auburn stands with Jalen Crawford right now, the cornerback out of Parkview, number 34 player in the class. I believe he's the number 5 cornerback. So really talented guy. It's a guy that Zach Etheridge has worked on for a long time. Now Coach Crime, Wesley McGriff, is getting active in this recruitment as well, now that they've got both those guys coaching in the secondary. Auburn has made this guy a huge priority. LSU is the 24/7 Sports crystal ball favorite, but as of right now, it seems like it's kind of whittled itself down to Auburn and Clemson, with LSU maybe being a little bit on the outside looking in, and Georgia being another school to keep an eye on as well. Georgia hasn't offered him yet, but it seems like they're keeping an eye on him. Look, he's supposed to visit, recording this Friday, he's supposed to visit on Monday. That visit has been set for a while now. He's going to visit with his teammate, Antonio White, a wide receiver that Auburn is keeping its eye on, but is not offered yet. Auburn is also after his other teammate, 5-star wide receiver or cornerback or basketball player. He's been offered by Bruce Pearl and the basketball staff, and he's been offered by Auburn to play wide receiver, Mike Matthews. Doesn't seem like Mike Matthews is going to be visiting on that Monday, but he is supposed to visit this spring. Auburn would like to get, I think Auburn would be willing to take Antonio White if they could get Jalen Crawford and Mike Matthews. But I think the first step there in that kind of that school of Parkview, I think, is Jalen Crawford. I think securing him would be huge. Zach Etheridge has had a ton of success recruiting DBs. We'll get into another guy here in a little bit, but Jalen Crawford would be the highest rated that Zach Etheridge has landed, and a really talented guy. Another Georgia guy on the list, Justin Green. I have him kind of listed as a D end. He's more of Auburn's recruiting him as a jack. So that kind of outside jack linebacker, edge rusher, whatever you want to call it. Ron Roberts calls it the jack spot. And Auburn's recruiting him there. I don't know if that's where he ultimately fits in. I feel like he fits in more as a true defensive end, more of a defensive lineman, not necessarily a defensive tackle, but maybe a Colby Wooden type role. But look, this guy, he's another top 40 player. He visited for Auburn's junior day. He was a surprise visitor, someone that I wasn't really keeping an eye on too much beforehand, didn't really know his name too well, knew of him, but didn't really know too much about him. And look, he visits. He has a ton of good things to say. He's set to come back to Auburn this spring. He told our Steve Wiltfon it seems like Auburn's going to get an official visit as well. And I think he just visited LSU. LSU is another big player. So is South Carolina. But Auburn has positioned itself in a pretty good spot with Justin Green. Guy that just visited, I guess it's been a week now, but last Friday for Auburn's third spring practice, Ricardo Jones. This is a guy that the old staff and Zach Etheridge were on pretty heavily. Top 100 recruit, one of the top 10 safeties in the class. Big safety, 6'3", 200 pounds. Very similar to like C.J. Johnson, Terrence Love from the 2023 class. Kind of a similar frame in that sense. Very versatile, can kind of shift up and play as like a money backer in a sense. And Auburn, it seems like Auburn is liking that profile at safety because, we just saw them take Terrence Love. We just saw Auburn take C.J. Johnson. Seems like Auburn likes the bigger safeties, and I think Ricardo Jones could be next. He had visited Auburn a couple of times beforehand, but this was he didn't say it was his best visit, but from talking to him afterwards, it seemed like this was his best visit overall to Auburn. He had a ton of great things to say about Auburn. Loved the way that Zach Etheridge and Wesley McGriff were coaching the DBs back there. I would expect him back for an official visit this summer or this fall, whenever he wants to take his officials. He does want to commit by October, so I'd assume he's probably going to take his officials in the summer. He has some other schools after him that are going to be tough to beat. Michigan wants him really bad. I think our Michigan site has actually reported that he's kind of their #1 safety target. Tennessee wants him. Florida State wants him. Those are the three other schools that he named off instantly when we're like, hey, what are some of your other top schools? Because he flat out came and said Auburn's up near the top for him. So I think Auburn has been in a good spot for Ricardo Jones and continues to be in a really good spot for him, especially after that visit. It'd be huge if Auburn can get him back on campus this spring. I don't know if that'll be the case, but they'll definitely get him on campus for an official visit. Back to an in-state guy, Jordan Ross, edge rusher, jack linebacker, whatever you want to call it, out of Astavia Hills. He is definitely more of a true kind of edge guy. I think right now he's listed at 215 pounds. This is a picture. Jason Caldwell and I went to go and see him play basketball. So he's kind of, he's a little leaner right now just from playing basketball and being in that mode. Really, really athletic player, especially because he's at a little bit of a lower weight right now. But that didn't matter when he was at the Under Armour Next Camp. He is so fast. His first step was just so incredibly quick that even huge, just big offensive tackles just couldn't really contain him because his first step was so quick. A little bit of a spin move or a swim move, different moves. He was nearly unstoppable at the camp. And this is a guy, another top 100 player, really talented guy from the state. Tennessee is after him pretty heavily. Alabama is off after him now as well. But he said he hears from Auburn a ton. This is a guy that old staff didn't really prioritize that much. But the new staff has really taken a liking to him. He said he gets like cards in the mail multiple times a week. Hears from all of the coaches on the staff, specifically hears from Jeremy Garrett and Ron Roberts a lot, just about every single day. And I expect him to come down to campus for a visit this spring. We'll see where things go from there, but he's spoken really highly of Auburn. And I think Auburn has whittled its way back into his recruitment. And now that they're back in, I think Auburn is working its way up towards the top. We'll have to see where things go from there. Another in-state guy, last in-state guy, and then we'll have one more guy after this one. Kevin Riley, running back out of Tuscaloosa County. Really, really talented running back. He fits almost perfectly with what Hugh Freeze and Philip Montgomery want to do with the offense, to be honest. I think this guy fits so well. He hasn't caught a ton of passes in high school, but when you see him do it, he does it very naturally. So I think that'd be very easy for him to start doing in college a little bit more. Just such a great runner. I would highly recommend going to watch his huddle, going to watch just a little bit of his film because I can't do it justice. I can't really say just how talented of a player he really is. I think he's the #7 running back in the class. And Auburn has prioritized him as one of their top running backs. Cadillac Williams told us a couple weeks ago during a media period that Auburn is going to take 2 running backs this class, 2 high school running backs. And I think Kevin Riley is probably priority number 1. He's up there. You've got Kevin Riley, you've got Jamarian Burnett, you've got Daniel Hill. I think those 3 guys are really right up near the top. And I think Kevin Riley might be number 1, at least from what I've seen. I think he's really good, and I think Auburn wants him really badly. He's going to visit for A-Day on April 8th. He told us that a while back. And then he's also set to visit. I think he already has an official visit locked in June. I need to go and look at the dates on that again. But he told our Steve Wiltfong that he has a visit scheduled to Auburn in June for a 3-day, which would make me think it's an official visit. Hopefully catch up with him soon and check in on that. Last guy on the list is Martavius Collins. Big tight end out of Rome. Probably more of an H-back. He can shift out and definitely play tight end. But he's not going to be quite your hybrid tight end. We've been talking a lot about Evan Ingram, the tight end that Hugh Freeze and Ben Agamawa had at Ole Miss that turned into a first-round NFL draft pick and now is kind of an NFL star, at least at the tight end position. But this is not him. This is a much bigger prospect, more of a hand-in-the-dirt tight end, lining up next to an offensive tackle, lining up in the backfield. But that does not mean he cannot go and catch passes. It just means you're not going to see him shifted out wide quite as much. He's less, in Auburn terms, he's less of a Landon Kane, more of a John Samuel Shanker. But I would say he's much more athletic than John Samuel Shanker. This is a top 247 player, formerly committed to Alabama. He ended up backing off his commitment just a couple of weeks after visiting Auburn. It seems like Alabama with the new offensive coordinator might have wanted to move in another direction, but I don't think Auburn really cares because I think Hugh Freeze, Ben Agamawa, Philip Montgomery, I think they really like where Martavius Collins could fit into their system. He told us that he's planning to visit multiple times in the spring, and he's still working on locking in those dates, but Auburn is definitely trending in the right direction here. Of the 10 guys, this is one that this is probably the one, looking through the list again, I would probably feel most confident about this guy landing in Auburn's class, Martavius Collins. Maybe go like Jalen Crawford, number 2. I'd probably go Ricardo Jones, number 2. Kevin Riley, 3. Jalen Crawford, 4. I'm not going to rank through the whole 10 because that'd be tough to do on the fly. But Auburn's in a great spot with Martavius Collins. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Just a fun little, easier for me to talk through kind of the 10 guys that are trending to Auburn, give you guys a little bit more context, give you guys kind of my feel for it. Like I said, if you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do that. It helps us out a ton. We're on the push we're like 10 subscribers off 6,200. It's totally free to subscribe to the YouTube. So make sure and do that. Like the video as well if you enjoyed it. If you're not following our work at auburnundercover.com, highly recommend doing that. We have a ton of recruiting stuff over there. We have a ton of basketball coverage. Tough loss last night for Auburn against Arkansas, but NCAA tournament getting set to go underway. No one provides better baseball coverage than Jason Caldwell. Should have some fun baseball coverage coming up here pretty soon as well with SEC play and some other surprises. Softball coverage. Philip Dukes with the podcast, Casual Flex, the Duke Scoops. Look, we've got it all over there at auburnundercover.com. So make sure to check us out over there. And we'll see you guys soon here on the YouTube.